It's 6 o'clock, and we'll call the meeting to order. If you will please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and stay standing for the invocation.
Before I pray, I just wanted to extend my apologies to our city attorney. I understood I put you on the spot last week, and you led us in prayer. I was greatly encouraged, though, that we have an attorney who knows how to pray. So on that note, I'll pray. Father in heaven, we are so grateful to live in this city in this time. We live in a country that we can be represented well, and we thank you for these rights that you've given to us. We thank you for our mayor, for our council, for our elected officials, for our appointed department heads, for each city employee, and so many volunteers who give their time on commissions to make our city a great city to live and learn, work, worship, and play. We just ask that you would use this meeting tonight to advance that purpose. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. Michael, if you'll take the roll, please.
All righty, Mayor. Councilman Marcos.
Here.
Councilman Blevins.
Here.
Councilman Schlack.
Present.
Councilman Valerius.
Here.
Councilman Lloyd.
Here.
Pro Tem Lally. Here. And Mayor McLeod.
Here.
We have a quorum, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. May I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Motion, Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Schlack. Second by Mr. Lally. Any corrections or changes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. May I have a motion to approve the minutes from the July 11th meeting? Motion by Mr. Lally.
Support.
Supported by Mr. Marcos. Any corrections? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Organizational business.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Council, residents of Allen Park. Before I start my report, I'd like to take a moment, if I could, to introduce Christina Whitney and Rod Barnes from American and Bloom. We spent the last 2 days together. We've got to know each other very well through the tour of the city. We also want to thank Kyle Carr, who was our chauffeur, and he did an excellent job on the event. I just want to have them say a few words about what American and Bloom is and how their experience.
Thank you, Mark, and good evening, Mayor, Council. It's really great to be here in Allen Park. What a beautiful community you have. From the minute we arrived at the hotel, we knew it was different. They handed us a set of car keys and 2 room keys and never asked us anything other than our first name. So we're like, wow, we know we're in a friendly community. American Bloom is a nonprofit organization that was founded in 2002 for the purpose of going across the country to help communities build pride and develop their communities in an orderly fashion. So we come in for 2 days, and we've been spending great time with Mark and the mayor. We've met some of the council. We appreciate that opportunity, but we also had a wonderful chauffeur. We were putting him in for a raise because he did such a great job. But we got to see, I think, your community from up, down, around, and let me tell you, we were impressed. What a clean, well-maintained, orderly, beautiful community it is, and your park system is just outstanding, the green space and the wonderful opportunities that the residents have. I think they hired a bunch of people to go to one of the playgrounds and make sure that they were there while we were there, but it was really highly used, the Kiwanis Park and the moms and the children, and that was so great to see that. But we look at urban forestry, we look at your overall impression, we look at community vitality, we look at the floral and landscaping that's going on in the community. We look at your volunteers and how you have volunteers here. And I know I'm forgetting, celebrating heritage, as we look at the wonderful heritage that you have here in your community, 1927, when the village was first started. So we'll give you a report. I equate that report to about a $40,000 or $50,000 expenditure to a planner to come in and do what we do free, somewhat, in that you had to put us up and you joined our Level 3 awards program as part of your CNN grant opportunity that our program, American Bloom, administers. So that report It'll have about 30 recommendations in all of those various areas. And there'll be ideas and suggestions on how to improve, how to make your community look better, how to make it more inviting for businesses, for neighbors, what to do downtown that maybe could make a tweak here or there that makes it more inviting there too. The Historical Commission, we went out to the house today. It's a beautiful home, and it's great that you're working to restore it, and the efforts that you've done as far as your grants is just outstanding and amazing. So I hope you're able to continue that momentum and complete that project. The bad thing for us, we may not get to come back for a while, but we hear about all these great projects and all the wonderful things going on, and we really want to watch to make sure that they do happen. So I would encourage you, you get your report in October. It's a long time, I know, to wait. We have a symposium. This year it's in Spartanburg, Greenwood, South Carolina. We encourage anyone, we left brochures, anyone to attend. It's a 3-day event. We announce lots of awards. We've put you in for some awards, and we announce those during that symposium. We also have training going on during that time, best practices, talking to other communities and what they do in this area. So anyway, we're so glad you're part of the American Bloom family. We hope you'll stay with us for a long time. We'll just keep coming back, different ones to help you as we continue to build Allen Park into a better community.
Thank you all so much for having us. It has been a wonderful time, and Allen Park is absolutely gorgeous. Very excited to have been able to see it.
Thank you.
So the American Bloom program came about from the CN Rail grant that we received for the Brand Park Memorial and the Champaign Park Memorial. I don't know about Kyle, I'm exhausted today. It's been a long 2 days of being out in the fresh air and running around and that. As they said, we started off our first night, our first day morning, yesterday morning. Christina was offered a chance to run the 440 at the Lions facility against a security guard, and she chose not to. I think she could have taken him. She thinks she could have taken a football player as well. So and we went through the hill and talked about that development. And as soon as we get to our first, we just happened to stop at Gingham Dog Park, and we take a couple of photos there. And a lady walks by and says, "I love how the parks are going." And I looked at her and we did not.
Paid actor.
And it was park after park after park. I think we talked to a person at, there was somebody at Millward. We talked to somebody. We talked to people at Dura. We talked to, there was residents that were using the park. Every park we went to, somebody was in. It was just nice. It was good to see. Dura Park is definitely a popular one that they seem to enjoy as well. So do appreciate their time to come in and help us, give us some recommendations, and also the department heads that were involved, plenty assistance on that, greatly appreciated. And then the council and mayor that were able to come to dinner and to lunch and have lunch with everybody, so we do appreciate that as well.
Thanks, Leon.
Thank you very much. Okay, for our report, Rosedale Boulevard project, reconstruction project. We got Hard Rock Concrete's going to be, they've been joint sealing yesterday and today. They'll be sweeping and finishing up some various cleanup areas on Wednesday and Thursday. Rosedale Boulevard is set to reopen sometime on Friday. I didn't give a time. I don't know the exact time just yet, so we're going to go with sometime on Friday. There may be some remaining small construction work taking place in certain areas, but the road will remain open during this time. So Friday's the day to be able to ride back on the road. That opening also allows for the runners that are going to be participating in the run that associated with the street fair. They'll be running on all new concrete for that event. Water main replacement for Reek Road. Reek Road is now closed between Goddard Road and Maylon. The contractor is now working north of the creek to Maylon, and they're preparing section 2 for the pipe bursting, so they're moving along as well. Paris Avenue, weather permitting, Savone Cement will finish pouring the north side of Paris Avenue this week. Approaches and sidewalks on the north side will also be finished, will begin next week, and the street is scheduled to reopen to the public August 4th, again, weather permitting. concrete sectioning program, that's also Savone. They're continuing to do work on the sectioning on Meyer Avenue and Dasher. This is between Allen Road and Roger Avenue. They'll be moving this week to do concrete repairs by Arno School. I believe they're gonna be on, is it Marquise and Thomas and, Cowell is gonna be the main focus this time around. After they do the school area, then they're gonna be moving to several streets off of the E-Course Road area that we talked about before. Joint sealing, Al's Asphalt begin in August on the E-Course Road between Pelham Road and Roosevelt. Once E-Course Road is complete, they'll be working in the area west of Allen Road from Arno to Beatrice, from Arno, Allen Road, I'm sorry, let me start over here. They'll be working in the area west of Allen Road to Arno Avenue, from Beatrice Avenue north to Hanford Avenue. So that'll be, I think those people, everybody in that area will be notified beforehand as when they're working those sections of the street so they can make sure the cars are removed. Some training we have going on here for the police department. School Resource Officer Jared Knudsen will be attending the basic SRO training offered by the National Association of School Resource Officers. That training will be held here in August, and that's going to be in Grand Blanc. Gail McFarland, a much better opportunity for her. She's going to be she's out of the Police Records Bureau. She's going to be attending the 2023 Law Enforcement Records Management Association Fall Training Conference. That'll be held in September in Traverse City. I'm nothing against Grand Blanc, but I'm going to Traverse City much better than the opportunity, I think, for her over Knudsen there. And then just an announcement for the kickoff event. We just had American Bloom here talking about the CN Rail grant. We're going to have a kickoff for that grant that the city received from American Bloom and CN Rail to build and improve the Brand Park Vietnam Veterans and Beyond Memorial and the Champaign Park Blue Star Memorial. That'll be held on Monday, August 7th at 11 o'clock a.m. and that's going to be at Champaign Park Pavilion. The Champaign Park Pavilion is going to be closest to Champaign Road, not the secondary pavilion down by the ball fields. I think that's it. I've been lost for a couple days. I do think Kyle, we've been out of the office trying to catch up and keep up in the emails. Kyle for driving and Rob for being associated with most of the day. Tom was with us today. Matt Baker was involved on going over the Hill project. Also at the museum, we had Roy Schiffman took us to the Union Royal Tire. I think they were enthused. We tried to get them to, Christina was the most active. We tried to get her to climb to the top. She decided not to, but Kyle Carr did. So Kyle was, got his head sticking out the tire up in the top. But, it's one of those where we drive by, we see this on a regular basis, and they've read about it, and I think just to see it in person is really rather impressive. So just again, thank you to all the department heads. I probably have missed somebody in between there, and I do apologize. What an experience though to be with them, and I think looking forward to this report. We had Frank Jaskowski today from the DDA, walking through the DDA area, and then also the library. They do a masterful job over at the library with their flowers and landscaping. And as they were driving around, we had to stop a couple times because they had a couple door hangers that we stopped and put on a couple houses that they saw, and they just really appreciated the landscape work that the people have put in. And I know the beautification is going to come back and do that, and I think they're going to do the awards in September. But it was nice to be able to hang a door hanger on a few of those houses and just say, hey, thank you for doing a really good job. We do appreciate that. And I think that's really the sense of community. And so hopefully from this event here, we can help build on that sense of community and get people more involved.
I will just add, it was very nice chatting with them last night and even this afternoon on the comments they made. We all live here and we look at things on a regular basis, and we get used to looking at them and we accept certain things, or we just, they're secondary. And to have someone from the outside come in and tell you how nice your parks look, or what a fantastic job your library is doing completely unsolicited is very heartwarming, and kind of makes you think that you need to take another walk around and take another look, maybe with a little different eye, and view it as somebody who's new to the community. It's kind of like you take a drive every day on the same roads, and you never give a second thought. And sometimes if you get out of your car and walk some of these roads, which I found, it's quite interesting because streets look a whole lot different when you're walking down the sidewalk. The houses look different than when you're driving by them. I think we need to do that within our community. So there's a lot of promise in the fact that we're going to get this excellent report. There are things that we've all looked at, I'm sure, in this community where we thought, well, that needs to be improved, and I think they're going to help us get there. So time well spent, I think. All right, may I have a motion to accept and file the administrator's report? Motion by Mr. Lally.
Second.
Second by Mr. Valerius. Any comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. We are now open for public comments. You're limited to 4 minutes. All we ask is that you give us your name and the street on which you live. We do not want to have your full address, and we just ask that your comments be civil.
Hello, Mayor and Council. Tim Estheimer, Melbourne Avenue. In line with the guest that was just up here talking about our beautiful city, I have a couple comments, and hopefully maybe you can answer them in your comments. But I'm kind of concerned and wondering if, with all the work that we've been doing in the parks, the beautiful job that we've been doing restoring these parks, I'm just wondering if there's a list of the order that that's coming down, because I'm questioning specifically Champaign Park, arguably our most visited park and used the most. That parking lot there, which I know is going to be a lot of money, but that parking lot there it really needs to be redone. So I'm just wondering if that's something that's on the agenda. Number two, if maybe I can get with Mr. Lally after to see if there's an update on the Blue Star Memorial. I know there's a sign there, and I haven't specifically gotten out and read every word of it, but I'm wondering if that's if there's a target date for that or what's needed, and if that's something that we can help with in the community. And then last, just stay cool. The next couple days are going to be really warm. Feeling sorry for those boys going to football camp at Cabrini tomorrow, my son being one of them. It's going to be a tough day out there working out. But I want to remind the community that our own community center is a cooling station, and they are open Monday through Friday, 6 to 10, Saturday, 6 to 9, and Sunday, 8 to 6. With that, I bid you farewell. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Maria Thompson. We just purchased a house on Marlboro. I'm here for two reasons. One reason, I'm the treasurer at the Allen Park Elks, and I'd like to find out about getting the alley asphalted. There's 2 very large sinkholes, and we have a lot of elderly members, and we've already had 1 injury. And if that can be put on the agenda at some point. And secondly, I'd like to address Mr. Kibbe as to, I understand that you had people at the historical house today, and that's wonderful, but I'm wondering why you didn't partner with anybody from the historical house and what our role is as a commission if we're not going to be partnered with.
This is not a conversation, a question.
Right, I
Yeah.
just go, okay.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Holdren. I live on Marquise. I'm under the impression that there was money allocated for a dog park to be put in front of the new DPW. Just wondering what the status is on that.
Good evening, City Council, Mayor, Rima Gusson-Quant. Got a couple questions, and hopefully the people that came up here, those questions are going to be answered when it comes time for you guys, for your comments. Is there a reason why Maureen Armstrong has not been at any meetings in quite some time? She's a duly elected official. I have no reason why she's not here. I'd like to go through the chair and ask her a question. So through the chair, I'm going to ask Maureen Armstrong a question. How deeply in debt is our city? And what's the plans to get it out of debt? That is the issue when we don't have no one here. She's duly elected, and there is no reason for her not to be here. She's paid. You know, so that's what all I'm asking. The next thing is, quite some time ago, I brought up a suggestion, and the suggestion was this: charge $1 for anyone who uses our brand-new hotels. $1 little dollar. Put a surcharge on it like a lot of cities do. Oh, by the way, I've been gone and I've been on the road, and a lot of them have surcharges, and the cities have it. There's no reason for us not to have it, none whatsoever. It's only $1, and you can start with only $1. Maybe you want to start at 50 cents. Something. One of those places are long-term stays. They're not short-term, they're long-term. I don't understand what the big deal is. We pay right now, every time I buy a beer and every time I use one of these hotels, I pay a surcharge for Cobo Hall. Wow, it ain't even Cobo Hall no more. What's the big problem here? Look into it. It's a way to bring revenue into our city without us citizens have to constantly put out money. I had a nice discussion today with the police chief. I found out something. So when I look at these resolutions and I see, wow, all these new equipment that we're buying, can you please explain to us citizens almost how that really works? It looks like we hit the lottery. It really does sometimes. Today especially, wow, that's a lot of money. How much more are we going to have to put out? But I understand the vehicles are getting old. And not only that is, it takes maybe a year to 2 years even to get them. So when I read this stuff, it looks like we're going to get them right now. Explain to us. Just let us know. And I want to thank every single commissioner who works within this city to make the city as nice as it is. And I want to thank you all for what you do. It ain't easy. You have families. I understand that. You have another job. I understand that. But with that, I want to thank you very much for allowing us to come up here. And when it comes to your comments, please try to answer. I would love to see Maureen Armstrong. I haven't seen her in I don't know how long. With that, thank you very much and have a great day.
There's no further individuals coming up. We will close public comments and move on to the consent agenda. Tonight's consent agenda consists of claims and accounts and the payroll report. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Blevins, second by Mr. Lally. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Resolution 1 is to accept the lowest bid for the complete restoration of Boccabella Ball Field received from Dura Edge at a cost of $12,760, with $12,000 from account 401-000-985-004 and $760 from another account. Motion.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Lally, second by Mr. Valerius. Comments or questions? We'll get input from Mr. Carr.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This resolution in front of you guys to redo Boccabella. Over the last probably, I've been around a while, but the last 5 or 6 years or so, me and Rob have talked about our baseball fields were poorly neglected, and APAC has told us, you know, when they go to other cities, wow, Allen Park is way below the 8-ball. And yeah, they were. I've done baseball fields since I was 12 years old, and they were pretty far behind. So with if pending your approval tonight with Boccabella, that'll be the 7th field done in the last 6 years, and we have 5 to go. 3 on the one side of town, both 2 at Champaign, not the turf fields from the high school, and Cunningham Park. And Dura Edge is a company that they're like the largest company in the nation that does this. I've worked with them at Michigan. That's how I got involved with them. They're in and out. They did Community Park that you guys approved a couple weeks back, and they did it within 1 day. They were gone in 8 hours. 150 tons of dirt went on the field, graded, new bases, mound, plate, and they were out the door in 8 hours. So we're going to work with them and hopefully get these next 5 done in the next couple years.
Does anyone have any questions?
I just want to make a quick statement. One, absolutely necessary, and I think great job on the baseball diamonds. I know that we've partnered with APAC on a couple different ones, and,
Yep.
and it's been really good to see. But just more generally, I know for everybody that comes to council meetings, you come up in public comments, and I know we're like kind of stone-faced up here, but it's just because we have to get through the business of the meeting. We really do try our best to answer all those questions when we come to our comments at the end. But I do want to address one thing that Mr. McGusson brought up. Because I can understand for somebody that's watching at home or somebody that's looking at this agenda and you see all these different items, that it does, I can understand the sentiment that like we've hit the lotto. But so I just want to address that one thing right here, and it's for this item, but it's more in general for the number of items that we're going to be having up here. For each one of our department heads, they put out a 5-year capital plan. So they're looking forward and seeing what vehicles we're going to need, what new items we're going to need, what parks are we going to be looking to renovate, which comes to Mr. Estheimer's question. Like you're not the first one. We've talked about the parking lot at Champaign Road. So these are all things that within their budgets they're looking at and they're saying, okay, what do we have the money to do? And we're kind of triaging them and saying, what are our priorities to best serve our community? And as we kind of go through these, we'll talk about what is important to them, why is that important now. I think for this, I mean, our play fields are one of the, I think that's like the lifeblood of our community. That's where I made some of the best friends that I have in this city, is playing on these baseball diamonds, playing at Cunningham Park. So I think that it's absolutely necessary. And the other thing with that is that we are definitely doing this within our means. We have some very competent department heads, and so every dime that is spent is tracked down, and they're very much on top of it. So I can understand that sentiment for somebody sitting at home watching this, but I just want to assure you that these are all things that have been prioritized by our department heads because these are the things that are most important to serve our community right now. Just want to make that one statement.
Any other comments? Questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. Resolution 2.
Still made Kyle stand there for all that. Sorry, Kyle.
He'll extrapolate on it. Resolution 2 is to waive the city bid process as there is no economic benefit and award the ice arena bleacher enclosures to Savone Cement, our current contractor, in the amount of $19,500. Motion, please.
Motion.
By Mr.
Second.
Slack, second by Mr. Valerius. Before we get to comments, we'll ask Kyle to explain this one.
So again, a couple weeks back, we came to you for the doors on the new bleacher enclosure. If you have seen them online or if you've seen them in person, the tunnels were designed for walkthroughs, but the community center was not built for storage 20 years ago. So we are enclosing them with the doors. You guys approved the doors a couple weeks ago, and now we're going with Mario he's gonna cinder block it up so the block will match the existing walls of the community center, and we will end up painting them the same color so it follows the color scheme so it looks like it's part of the wall. And then they will set the doors, and from what I'm being told, pending your approval, they'll be done within the next week and a half.
Are there any comments or questions?
Yeah, I think this was discussed a bit at the Parks and Rec meeting last night. I think it's more of a safety issue with
Yeah, there's a lot of.
leaving them open, underneath the bleachers is a big-time safety concern as well. So,
Very good. They need storage too, so that's a good deal.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Yeah.
let the record reflect, there were two other contractors that were contacted. One did not return the phone call back to the Parks and Recreation, and the other stated they were not interested in doing the job.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 3, to recognize the nonprofit youth sports organization Dreams as a nonprofit in Allen Park to obtain a charitable gaming license through the state of Michigan. Motion.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Marcos.
Second.
Second by Mr. Lally. Comments or questions?
Through the chair? I guess this goes to our attorney. Were we ever able to confirm their
Yes.
nonprofit status?
Right.
So the correct name is Dreams
Organization.
Organization.
Okay,
And that entity is recognized by the state. It is a corporation in good standing.
so do you have any reservations?
No.
Okay.
And for those who were not at the work session, there was some discussion because we had looked up the organization, and apparently there was a prior organization with a very similar name that had existed, I think, back in 2010, and it became questionable, but we have clarified that. So this is a matter of formality. I don't know, Mike, if you want to add anything to this?
No, Mayor, this is good. This is just for them to obtain the charitable gaming license as they discussed. And we have done stuff like this in the past.
Right. Because they are incorporated through the city, so they must come to the city first.
Yeah, the last one was, I think, a travel hockey team. So it's been a while. So we don't get it a lot, but we get it.
Any council members have any comments or questions?
One question.
Yes.
Do we have to amend the agenda to say organization in the title, besides just saying Dreams?
Yes.
So that will.
Well, the resolution will reflect it. The agenda, again, is just a guideline.
You should get a button that says that.
I know we adopt it, but adopting an agenda is not a recognized,
I actually, if I'm looking at the resolution document, it does, in the first sentence, indicate Dreams Organization, so I think we're covered on that.
Yeah, she's forwarded me a copy of it, so.
Any further questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 4, to approve the purchase of a John Deere compact tractor direct from John Deere through the MIAG Grounds and Roadside in the amount of $39,473.28. Motion, please.
Motion, Mayor.
Motion by
Second.
Mr. Lloyd, second by Mr. Lally.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So this is a tractor to cut the big fields that we have, Arno being one of them, out off of Old Goddard's another one, by the railroad tracks, by Panhandle Park, is other areas that small X marks and things of that nature just take too long. So this is how you, like a brush hog style tractor. The tractor we currently have been using, we have 3 of, are Ford tractors. They're almost 40 years old and they don't make them anymore. They don't make parts for them anymore. We've been limping them along as long as we could. So therefore, we need a tractor to keep up with
Would
it.
you repeat the age on that?
It's almost 40 years old. I don't have the paper in front of me. but
40?
Yes, it's
40.
1980 something, 87.
I
So
just want to make
quite a
sure I
long
heard
time.
that correctly. It's not 4, it's 40.
Yeah, not 4, no. We kept them up.
I guess.
But everything with this tractor is the Ford parts that we have, the brush hog and other things can work on this as well. So the other parts that you have and accessories can work on this type tractor. So we won't have to purchase any of those extra.
Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Is there any value in the old tractor to scrap or anything?
We'll put it in an auction if you want to buy it. We got 3 of them. 2 of them are usable-ish, if that makes sense, because you don't want to go down to 1 of anything. If this goes down, this new one goes down, we gotta have something to limp us by. People aren't gonna be okay with the grass getting 10 feet tall. So we're just getting rid of one of the three. Another one's got a post hole digger, and that's all it's good for. Just giving you an idea that they're not all leaving.
We mentioned 3, so what would be the lifespan for those next 2?
Probably not long, but they're not in our next 5 years. I can tell you that. The priority is not there. You got one tractor like this, you should be able to be okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 5 is to approve the purchase of a Freightliner chassis with equipment, salt truck, through the city of Rochester Hills in the amount of $232,005. Motion.
Motion, Mayor.
Motion by Mr. Schlack,
Support.
supported by Mr. Marcos.
Well, hello again.
Murray.
So this is another salt truck. We have 6 in our fleet. That is how many we've had for the last 25 years. We have replaced 4 of them, said 6. This is the 5th one out of the 6. We have 1 more to go, so we are trying to just replace the fleet. Prices, as you see in the memos, have been going up dramatically. This was a year ago, we received one of these trucks for $185. The chassis alone has gone up almost $18,000 just from Freightliner itself, without the build of the truck. To give you an idea, the reason I'll answer kind of on what I heard, we're purchasing these is if I wait 5 more years, this is probably $270,000, the way the market's going. I don't think that's a smart thing to do. So another thing is we just started our budget year. That is why you see this many things being in here. This truck is 18 to 24 months before we receive it, we were told. If I do not order this chassis in the next 30 days, it will be going up another $9,000, I was told, for another model year. So hopefully that answered a few questions on that.
So we're not gonna have this for another 2 winters?
It's gonna be almost 2 years, I was told, if we're lucky.
And if we don't order now, the price will go up.
It goes up and probably adds to timing because other cities, communities, counties are purchasing these trucks because they salt as well and plow in the Midwest. And there's not many suppliers that build these things.
The city of Rochester Hills, is that where the manufacturer is?
No, City of Rochester Hills put out a bid. So when they did a bid, they do a bid for a group of equipment. And if they get a better price than other people who put out a bid, you ask and request to be able to consider it called riding their bid. So they've extended that to the city of Elm Park on a lot of equipment. You'll see probably, I'm not sure, police cars sometimes. That might be a different one. But we ride a lot of those and ask them for it. And they do the same likewise. If we put out a bid for something, they may ask to use our bids. So that's what communities do to not have to spend that much money to bid on every item. That means they get the competitive bid and we're using their competitive bid.
Thank you, Tom.
You're welcome.
I know you guys stayed at the top of this. You have always looked ahead and, you've been proactive on all your equipment and always within your means, so I'm glad to see that. Good program that you're running.
Just a little other statement on salt truck. The old ones we're getting rid of have steel bodies. These have stainless steel bodies. We should get more time out of these than we received off the ones we're getting rid of. Should. I don't know. Not a genie. I can't tell you what, the world's gonna be, but stainless steel is way better than steel for rust and breakdowns. On average, we spend probably about $30,000 per salt truck that's old and just repairing it to keep it on the road a year. So, over time, this purchase is actually cheaper than keep limping along a salt truck.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 6,
Tom is still up.
EPS, to approve the purchase of a 2023 Pipe Hunter sidetrack easement machine through the co-op bid contract in the amount of $66,646.24. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Lloyd.
Second.
Second by Mr. Marcos.
I take it
Mr.
you'd like
Murray.
to hear about this. So this is for the water and sewer department. This is to clean the sewers in backyards. So currently we have a sewer machine truck that you usually can put the hose down in a manhole that's in a street or an easement that you can get to. We have manholes because we have blocks that are 1,000 linear feet that you can't get through the whole block. It's only a 600 to 800-foot hose. So to get them, you need a machine of this nature to put it through the backyard of someone's backyard to get to that manhole. This helps. Currently, for the last however many years since we've been doing this, you have to pull this 1-inch hose by hand to individuals, and as you shoot it, they got to keep feeding it. I can tell you personally, it does not feel good on the elbows after 2 days of doing that. So this is a machine that helps that process, helps us with probably workman's comp claims down the road, and we can get into areas that we normally cannot get to make sure that our sanitary is cleaned out and flushed.
I'm assuming reduced man hours as well.
Oh, definitely it will, because this machine, how this works is you take the hose from the current sewer truck, you connect it to it. This drives with a little remote control. It adjusts from 48 to 36 so you can get through a gate and then go back to 48 so it can handle the size, you know, of the strength of the pressure. And then you put it in the manhole and it all works off of that and the truck just feeds it. I hope that made sense. If you look, I probably have a picture in there, kind of interesting how it works. Mm-hmm. We've been wanting one of these, I can tell you, since I've started working here. It just hasn't been a priority list, but we're at the point of we need to start thinking of these things for future savings and taking care of things in the backyards.
Just again, being proactive in the program, which is
Yes, we're trying.
I know. I know you plan it way ahead, so it's great.
Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is approved. We're going to see a different face. Resolution to approve the special regulated land use received by Bigby Coffee for a drive-through at 17410 Ecorse Road, subject to meeting all of the Planning Commission's requirements with final approval from the head building official. Motion, please.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Blevins, supported by
Someone likes their big.
Mr. I'm had echoes, supported by Mr. Lally.
Lally.
Hi, good evening. I'm not sure if you want a full presentation on our project or if you would just like me to answer questions. I'm happy to do either.
And you are?
My name is Mike Hoosty on Hill Street. I am the developer of the Bigby Coffee project, and we currently have the site under contract with your DDA. So we are looking forward to completing our approval process and getting the project built, hopefully this fall.
Does anyone have any questions?
Give a 5-minute. 3-minute, 5-minute. Sure.
All right.
Elevator speech.
Sure. We have a small drive-through only building with an outside patio. We've been through 4 different plan revisions. We've had numerous pre-application meetings with your city staff. We originally had proposed the curb cuts off of Marlowe, and then we were asked to rotate it 90 degrees so the curb cuts come off of Ecorse.
They were originally off Winona.
Oh, no.
Winona.
What did I say?
Marlowe.
I'm sorry, that's a different project, you're right. I apologize. Right. And Mr. Frank, I believe, on the Planning Commission, had brought up an issue of the rain gardens that are adjacent to the sidewalk. I think that was probably the most major comment that we weren't thinking about. So we're gonna try to incorporate that when we get into our detailed engineering, try to put some of that back in between the curb cuts. We meet the ordinance for parking. However, there is a variance needed for setbacks relative to the intersection, Winona intersection. We're infringing a little bit on the driveway curb cut setback. So the Planning Commission agreed that that makes sense. So we do have to go to the ZBA, and that is our next stop here. And if you have any other questions, I'm happy to entertain them.
I think Mr. Marcos had raised a question about exit and entrance signs.
Yes, Carla Wortman threw a suggestion that they would recommend enter and exit signs, and they asked you to consider it, and I was asking them to probably clearly marked and having to turn it in the way, driving on the roads today is a little different. So have it clearly marked entrance and exit, and not as a suggestion, but as a requirement. That would be my only concern. Everything else is fine.
That's a good idea, and we definitely plan on doing that when we do our overall sign package plan. Yeah, and there were a number of other items outlined in Mike's review letter.
Yeah.
Those were all good, valid ideas. We plan on incorporating all those items in as well.
Okay, great. Awesome, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution has passed.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thanks.
Resolution number 8, to accept the amendment to the SYNC agreement, for Downriver Mutual Aid, that the city of Ecorse shall be admitted as a new participating community with all the rights and privileges bestowed upon an active member of the SYNC group. Motion, please.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Lally.
Second.
Second by Mr. Valerius. Chief.
So, Mayor and Council, City of Ecorse is going through some changes. They're trying to get dispatch services. I believe they're going to be trying to get them through Brownstown, but in order to do that, they have to be on the same networks and computer systems that we have downriver. So there's currently 13 cities in it's called a SYNC group, Shared Information Network Consortium. So this is their first step in order to join our SYNC group. Then they'll have to purchase the equipment so another community can dispatch for them. So what's required is the mayor and the city clerk's signature once it's approved from a majority vote of the Downriver Mutual Aid cities that are involved, if that makes sense.
Any comments or questions?
What's the primary advantage for the city of Allen Park to, well, it's already just being a good neighbor, which is important.
Well, if their police department can't function, then it definitely filters our way, but they're trying to get in, be more, when we were in the old New World, it turned to Central Square, they went with a different program, that program's outdated, so they need to be able to function, and with their manpower issues, they used to have officers dispatch, and that's not able anymore. So yeah, it helps downriver as a whole, helps us. As far as financially, it will be prorated and things like that. So down the road, one more person paying into our group is probably a good thing.
And this is in conjunction with the DCC DMA, correct?
Yes, correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 9, to approve the Senior Alliance Area Agency on Aging A1C 2024 Annual Implementation Plan. Motion.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Marcos.
Support.
Supported by Mr. Schlack.
Yeah, for this item here, the Senior Alliance is our local agency and area agency on aging for our district. This program here for the 2024 implementation plan outlines the agency's goals and objectives for Older Americans Act and the state funds over the next 3 years. They require each community to approve their plan so they can then forward that to the state of Michigan as required by the state law.
Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution has been approved. Resolution 10 is to approve the purchase of 3 police patrol vehicles from Signature Ford using the Macomb County contract bid pending final prices, and I believe that we've gotten that documentation. Is that correct?
Correct. I talked to Roy today on this as well as Mark. Yep.
Motion, please.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Valerius,
Second.
second by Mr. Lally.
Thank you. Yeah, obviously seen prices have gone up since the last time we bought cars. Ford, as well as other companies, are way behind on production. We are currently waiting for 4 patrol cars and 2 Explorers. talked to Ford today, and hopefully we don't go down the road of a strike, but it's like we told Mr. McGusson, this is try and get these cars ordered so we can get VINs for them. So hopefully they're built before if there's any other slowdowns, and prices going up as well. So we also put in place a 5-year capital plan to get us back on track. We were really outdated, and our fleet was shrunk and then wasn't replaced, so now we're back on the process of doing that. This is continuing that for our capital plan.
If I can just jump in and add, as you recall, we were off schedule a couple times. We were ordering before the budget year had started, based on the budget year being approved on July 1. When we did use the ARPA funds for the 6 that we're still waiting for, that helped us get back onto the cycle. So this would be our normal July timeframe to start ordering and be on that regular cycle on an annual basis. And that's going to be one of those things where police cars are not going to be able to be skipped years like we've done in the past. They have to be maintained on a regular basis. It's just a lot of wear and tear on each vehicle. Just want to point one thing out. This is going to be through the Macomb County contract bid, but it's going to be with Lunghammer Ford, not Signature. They changed their name recently to Lunghammer. And again, when you're looking at the cost of each vehicle, it's almost $51,000. I think we had 3 years ago, or less, 2.5 years ago, we were at $38,000.
Through the chair.
Yes.
And just keeping up this rotation of getting new vehicles, it's an officer safety concern. Is that correct?
That is correct. We had a couple out there that were rattle buckets. They were pretty bad, and we kind of filter them down to less used vehicle, like our school resource officer and things like that. And
Sure, Jared appreciates that.
well, he's doing a great job. He's scheduled to get one, as we filter them down. They're just not driven enough. But having a proper amount of vehicles allows us to space them out for platoons. So we have 4 platoons running. So the natural reaction is when you only have a few cars, everyone wants to drive the new one. So yeah, they go by seniority. So this allows us to sit a car so they're not driving 24 hours a day over and over and over, especially in weather and things like that. So we're finally getting back up to an area where we can function properly and plan and do that. So we're there.
This is also a contractual issue.
Correct.
Only so many miles per vehicle by contract, and that was actually increased.
It went from 80 to 60,000 to go out for bid because of the lead time to get them back. So, yeah, it's important. And honestly, it's a recruiting tool and an officer morale tool as well. That's their office.
Right.
So.
Awesome. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, resolution is approved. Thank you. And we move on to other business. This evening, we have the third reading and public hearing of proposed ordinance number 6-2023. Motion, please.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Lloyd.
Second.
Second by Mr. Marcos. The attorney will please do the third reading.
Third reading by title only of proposed ordinance 06-2023. An ordinance of the City of Allen Park, Code of Ordinances, amending Chapter 32 zoning, Article 9, parking, loading, and waiting area requirements by the repeal and readoption of Section 52-1007, special parking permits, and Section 552-1012, variants and exceptions to update the section.
Thank you. We will now, ask for a vote, which I should have done before the reading. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We will now open public hearing.
Through the chair.
Yes.
Just real quickly, and I know we did this last week, just so everybody knows, what this is previous, if like a Big B Coffee needed to get a variance on that parking ordinance, they would need to go before both the zoning board and the planning commission. This is reducing it so that they just have to go in front of just the zoning board, correct? Just the planning commission. So it just is taking out a step for business owners that are trying to develop businesses in the city. So that's all that is changing here.
We are now open for a public hearing on this ordinance. If anyone wishes to come forward and speak, you may do so at this time. Since no one is coming forward, we will close the public hearing and we will move on to the adoption of ordinance number 6-2023. Motion, please.
Motion, Mayor.
I'm sorry, motion from Mr. Lloyd, second by Mr. Marcos. Or was it Mr. Valero?
Dennis was
Getting
quicker.
Two speakers.
Dennis was quicker.
He was quicker. Need flags.
We need Jeopardy.
Yeah. Okay, this will call for a roll call vote.
All right, Mayor, I have a motion by Councilman Lloyd, supported by Councilman Marcos, for the adoption of ordinance number 6-2023, an ordinance of the City of Allen Park Code of Ordinances, amending Chapter 52 zoning, Article 9, parking, loading, and waiting area requirements by the repeal and readoption of Section 52-1007, special parking permits, and Section 52-1012, variants and exceptions. To update these sections, shall this ordinance pass? Councilman Blevins?
Yes.
Pro Tem Lally?
Yes.
Councilman Lloyd?
Yes.
Councilman Marcos?
Yes.
Mayor McLeod?
Yes.
Councilman Schlack?
Yes.
And last but not least, Councilman Valeris.
Yes.
The yeses have it. The ordinance has been passed and shall be published in a manner prescribed by law.
Thank you. And we will move on to council comments, and this evening we start with Councilman Lloyd.
So I did want to go through, I am very thankful for Mr. Fulton, because I think that he ran out and caught Stephanie to answer the question about the dog park. So I was very appreciative of that. And this kind of, I think that it goes to the wider point that was made by Mr. McGusson, and also my comments that were previously made, is that just like in everybody's own home budget, we have a number of needs and wants. And our department heads make every effort to make sure that they're planning ahead so that we're not ending up in a situation where we have, you know, all of our police vehicles are over 150,000 miles. Where we're in a situation where we are going into the dead of winter without a salt truck, or where our baseball diamonds are unprepared. So I think that is definitely one of our long-term plans, is to put a dog park in there. We have Rusty over there. There is various talks of fountains, I know, that have been discussed for it, but that is more of in the category of a want and not necessarily in the category of a need. So that is, I wanted to make sure that I addressed that, and I think that Mr. Fulton did that, and I'm very appreciative. To Mr. Estheimer, Tim, so yeah, it's a big good point about Champaign, Champaign Park's parking lot. It's one that's been brought up. There's actually, you know, and this is something that Councilman Valerius may very well touch on. They formed a committee with the Parks and Rec Commission to talk about it. There is an issue of drainage that is something that is a barrier to that. I know that the administration set out the goal to get rid of all of our gravel roads, and that is one of the very last places that we have gravel. I think that there is maybe, yeah, a couple alleys and like maybe a couple other parking lots, but that is one of the very last ones. And we are trying to look at solutions to that because it is quite a big price tag. And the numbers that I think I saw was upwards of 2 million. Yeah, 2 or 3 million, which would basically eclipse, like that is the parks budget. So it's one of those things of like, you know, so are we updating these other parks or we do this? And I know that there's accessibility issues and things like that. And I know that Mr. Kibbe attended the Parks and Rec Commission and addressed some of their questions directly on that, but it's a very good point. One last thing I want to say, and, you know, Mr. McGusson, you know, I very much appreciate your comments here since I've been here, and even before that, when I first started coming when I was thinking about running for council. I've always appreciated you coming up and speaking in front of council and pointing things out, and you do always advocate for making sure that the people at home watching this understand what's going on. Now, I do want to say something, and I think that you know that question about how much are we in debt and how to pay it off, that's not a question for Ms. Armstrong. That's a question for our finance director And I think you know that because you posed that exact question to her during the budget, and she answered it. So I think it's a tad bit disingenuous to come up and pose a mock question to somebody who's not here. So I understand, and I cannot speak for Ms. Armstrong, and I won't. She is an elected official. You make a fine point. But I also know that her job as treasurer is to be the keeper of the cash. She is taking the deposits that are in. She is taking them to the account, the bank account. She is making sure that the tax notices are getting out into the mail, and all of those things are happening. And if any of those functions of her job as the treasurer were not done, then I would be right there with you, asking her where is she and why isn't she doing her job. But as far as I'm concerned, and as far as my conversations, the job of the city treasurer are getting done. Now, we put it to the people of the city to take that treasurer job and to roll it into a finance director, because that's what a lot of other communities do. I still think that that's the right thing to do, but the citizens of Allen Park disagree. So it is what it is. So I just wanted to make that one point. Yeah, and thank you for all being here. I appreciate everybody that's here. You guys have a good night. I yield.
Thank you. Mr. Valerius?
Same thing, about addressing some of the questions, and, this goes to Tim as well. Being the Parks and Rec liaison, I was at the meeting about a month or so ago when they decided and they formed a committee to actually start the conversation and investigation about the parking lot in Champaign Park. And then Mr. Kibbe came to a meeting and actually had a board. I had to hold it until he got the easel set up and everything else. That really addressed a lot of the issues. I think it wound up turning into probably a 45-minute long conversation with questions from all the commission members and everything else about the feasibility, the cost, options, especially like accessibility options, to the park. And, like you mentioned, it is the central park in our city. To say it's being completely ignored, I think is wrong, but it's the cost involved in just a simple parking lot repair based on the drainage issues that were mentioned by my fellow council member and everything. I mean, there are options that I think Mr. Kibbe addressed and threw out there, but it's a process of investigating to see how feasible those options are to get it done. I mean, we'd love to have it paved, and we'd love to make the pathways and everything else accessible to all the diamonds and areas of the park. It's a big issue. But the stepping stone in regards to that committee being formed and that discussion being started is how the process runs. And it's not something that's being ignored, because we've heard it from a lot of citizens. We've heard it from Parks and Rec Commission members as well. That park, needs to be looked at, needs to be considered. And again, the fact that Mr. Kibbe came to that Parks and Rec Commission meeting and spent the time, again, about 45 minutes, kind of going over options and things that we could look at, even so much in regards to a retention pond, to the drainage. So these are things, it's not like just small little ideas. It's like, oh, hey, maybe if we put a retention pond in there, the drainage and everything else, would be something. So it's being discussed. It's being addressed. Sure, I'd like things to happen a lot quicker as well, but it is being looked at and addressed. So with that, let's see, what else do I got here? Just some numbers. I'll give you some numbers here. You could come up with your guess in regards to what these numbers might mean, but we'll start with 1,416 hours, 8.43 weeks, 2.11 months, and 59 days till fall. With that, I yield.
Mr. Schlack?
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I'm not going to beat a dead horse. I think my colleagues addressed the park situation. It's definitely on the top of my mind, and top of everyone's mind when we go and see Champaign Park and see the parking lot, like what's happening. So we definitely want to work on that, and I think the right pillars are in place to can keep that forward. And with that, I would say some other things that have come up. GFL trash collections come up recently. I've seen a lot. I've definitely, personally, have been in contact, and it's a continuing issue with staffing, but I definitely told them that accountability to make sure the trash is picked up. I mean, you don't get your trash or recycling picked up, you start getting questions asked immediately. It's not a question of when, it's now. So that has been addressed. Same with our utilities. I know we've had a lot of issues in the state in general. The service by DTE has been, and I think on council here, the majority of us, if not all of us, have addressed DTE. We definitely are concerned with DTE. I think to think that we haven't would have been incorrect to say we haven't. I personally feel like that we definitely need to do issues, but we have to do what we can afford and look at realistically and see that we're a city of our size and can't go beyond that. We have to live within our means and do what's within our means. With the dog park, I think that was addressed well. I know it's definitely something that many owners have wanted. I don't have a dog myself, but I know that I definitely see Rusty up there, and we've addressed that, and definitely hope to one day have that. I think that would be a fantastic way, and we've addressed many ways that we can, and look forward to incorporating that into our city plan that we started talking about. So that would definitely continue. Things such as that with Mr. McGusson talking about the hotel surcharge, and that these are always ideas to look into. Definitely that's something that I have seen as in my travels, see charges on different things and go, what is this miscellaneous? But definitely something I'm curious about. I have not looked into, so I'm not going to sit up here and say, oh, I've looked into that, so I have not, but definitely very interested in doing so. On some other news, I did have the chance to meet with Christina and Rod from American Bloom. I think their fresh ideas that they're going to bring forward are going to be good to hear, and that we'll incorporate that into our plan to see how we go forward, but to hear the things that they have said about our city and is really refreshing to hear. And I look forward to seeing that report, and definitely I'm sure the community will like seeing that report as well. Some other news. The street fair is coming up before we meet again, if I'm not mistaken, so definitely get out there. I would encourage anyone to go there. It's going to be the 41st year, so I don't know there's many communities that can really say that have had a street fair going as long as it has, and definitely the vendors appreciate it. I know the residents that do appreciate it, so I'm looking for that. Get out there, and hopefully it will be not raining. Hopefully the rain will stay away just for a day or two, because I'm sure, like most of us, have had up to here on rain. I also had the recent ability to go to Touch a Truck by the DDA. That was a great event that they held. My son was a little nervous by all the trucks, but I think any residents that showed up or with their children that came, and even myself seeing some of these trucks, it's amazing the power of what they can do. So thank you to the DDA to that. And revert back one more thing about the street fair. Thank you to the festivities for doing all they have done and their hard work, and Parks and Rec and everything that we'll do throughout that whole event, picking up trash and other things. These events, I mean, I love our street fair, and I'm sure those who attend do as well. And I'll end with one bit of news. In 2017, or maybe it was 2018, Congress passed through a recognition of today being not a holiday, but it's a recognition of National Hire a Veteran Day. So it's not necessarily a holiday, but it's a day to recognize and incorporate with the business community that there are tax incentives to hire veterans, to see them that the skills they have earned in the military can translate to civilians. That's something that's very important, especially with my colleague Lally would confirm that when you come back from war, you might not be seen, or you might have some issues that translate over, but it's important to see these veterans for what they are, hard-working men and women that really did duty to their country and want to continue serving in a capacity in some way. So again, National Hire a Veterans Day. So I encourage you to check a little more about that. I've learned a little more about that recently, and everything I've read about it, I really like what I've read. And with that, just check my notes here. Probably forget something, but if not, God bless you, and I'll see you at our next meeting. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you. Mr. Blevins.
I'm not going to repeat what colleagues said, but it must be an election year. But August, there is no primary, so just to let you all know about that. And then also the thank you again, like, to everyone that spoke up today. Again, I totally agree with the hotel that Mr. McGustin said, to just earn some money, you know, get us out in depth quicker. And then with, yeah, mostly everything really got answered, I believe, from my notes. And then please make sure you support your local businesses, stay positive, God bless, and I yield.
Thank you. Mr. Marcos?
Okay. Last week, they had some great events. Everybody spoke on them. The farmer's market, the touch a truck, and the music in the streets. And I can say that I did get a chance to go through every one of them. And all I heard from the people who were working and attending was how great the Parks and Rec guys, Kyle in particular, the fire department helping set up these booths for everybody, the police department helping, but more so the Parks and Rec guys. Everybody just commented on how great they were in helping set up all these programs and these events. These guys go above and beyond, and it's greatly appreciated, and I can tell you the vendors appreciate it as well. So thank you guys, appreciated all your hard work. It's terrific. I didn't know if Maria has left. Did Maria leave? Okay, just wanted to, everybody else touched on all the other items. I was going to touch on the Elks Alley. Being a member of the Elks, I can attest to the alley is a disaster area, but we have, and I believe that's part of a DDA property. And my suggestion to her is to probably come to one of the DDA meetings, and when they ask for public comments, she can certainly suggest it to them or contact Ben Hughes as the executive director and bring it to his attention, because there's several alleys. We know that these alleys need to be paved, and it is, especially in the DDA, it's part of their program, and to work with the businesses and get these alleyways taken care of. I know they did at least 3 this year, if I'm not mistaken. And it's not cheap, it's expensive, but they can only do so many. And best thing I can say is come to the DDA meetings and bring it to their attention. Other than that, everything is pretty much covered by everybody. I think that we got that all done. My useless facts of the day. Today is National Wine and Cheese Day, a favorite. It's also National Hot Fudge Sundae Day. And this month is National Cell Phone Courtesy Month. So now you get tickets in your car, so watch it. Pardon? Well, you would think. It may have been originated on a Sunday, just the date, they picked the date. So it kind of moves every 7 days, every 7 years it comes around a Sunday. So anyhow, that's all. Thank you all for coming. Thanks for all the comments. We like to have more people come to the meetings. Please come. We enjoy it. And good night.
Thank you. Mr. Lally?
I guess I don't have to say much, do I? Everybody else says everything. But I do have to comment on the Vietnam Memorial and Beyond on Park on behalf of Tim, that you asked a question. We are working still on it. And I don't know if you guys know, this is a broken record. We have bricks for donation in the back of the Parks and Recreation in the building. And then if you do one or two, you could give me a call. I could give you the number. It's 313-779-4976. I will be there when you call. I'll be there either Wednesday morning from 8 to 12 or Friday morning from 8 to 12, unless I have a doctor's appointment or something. So that's a fundraiser. We're still going on. I know it's been like a dead issue. It's not really dead. It's still there. There's a pile of bricks back there, and Kyle knows. He helped me put it over there when we tore the theater down. So that's part of it. And then the Vietnam Memorial and Beyond in Brent Park and the Memorial Park, as like Mr. Kibbe says, they have some kind of kickoff on August the 7th. So make sure you guys will be there. That's just to start off. And I want to thank the American in Bloom for coming to the city of Allen Park and beautiful city of Allen Park. So that's how good the city is. Let's keep it that way. And I want to thank for coming and everything else. I want to thank everybody here for coming tonight, and just like everybody else said over here about everything else, the park and dog park and the parking lot at the Champagne. I was going to mention all that, but they all did it, so that's fine. So shop locally, Allen Park, support the police and fire, and support our workers on this kind of weather they have today. It's hot and it's going to be sweaty. Make sure you drink a lot of fluid and stay safe. Good night. Thank you.
Mr. Mizzi.
Thank you, Mayor. A lot of people in Allen Park that I know, they pass away, and I don't bring them all up because I'm always scared to miss somebody, but one that many people may or may not know, he wasn't elected, but Ted Scrocky passed away. And I bring it up because I'll never forget, it was around May or June of 1995. I was at a council meeting, and this guy got up to the podium and just ripped the mayor and council, Jerry Rich, I think everybody's passed now, Dave Babbitt's still alive, but just ripped them a new one, and I was probably 20 years old. I just sat there with my mouth open, but he had come to almost every council meeting up until probably 2000 and something. Anyways, he's literally one of the last of the Mohicans, and I just want to give him a shout out. It's literally one of the last of that group has passed. So other than that, thank y'all for coming out. God bless you and good night.
Thank you, Mike. Very sorry to hear about Ted. I will be brief on this. With regard to the dog park, I assume someone did talk to the individual. Money has not been set aside for it, but that land has kind of been held in abeyance potentially for a park. We have been exploring and speaking to different cities who already have one to get the pros and cons. Farmington Hills has had a dog park for 10 or 11 years, and so got some feedback from them. Better that we learn from somebody with experience than start out brand new. And they provided some great ideas, and I see that there will probably be one in the future because, as I indicated, we put Rusty the dog there for a reason, and he's keeping an eye on that property. Champagne Park, I think that's been pretty well covered. One of the things that, and I think the $2 to $3 million is rather conservative as a start because you've got engineering. The other thing that we have to keep in mind with Champagne Park is that we also have to deal with Wayne County with regard to that parking and sewage and sewer lines. And also there's going to be an expense in just determining the infrastructure that's currently there because it's been there such a long time. There are areas that we have no idea what's underground there, but it is something that's very dear to a number of the park commissioners, and one of them is a personal friend of mine, and I understand why they're asking. Other than that, virtually everything's been covered. I do want to make sure, because I've been so bogged down in stuff, is to let everyone know that there will be a State of the City address given on Tuesday, August 29th here at Council Chambers at 6:30 p.m. Figured I better get one in before my first term. So a State of the City, we'll try not to rehash things that we talk about at these council meetings. Planning on putting a little different spin on it, so I hope those who are able will come in attendance. And other than that, I will, like a lot of other people, remember 10 or 12 things after we depart here, but that can wait till next time, or they're not that important. So I'll take a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Marcos, second by Mr. Lally. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 7:20. Have a good evening, everyone.